Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Reganelite's Watch Along, episode 89 of this series. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but yeah, this one is going to be it's going to be an interesting one. Pretty much this live stream, I wouldn't be surprised if all the clips I have are not just about the Iran war with regards to it. I've got quite a few. I do have some on the DHS with Gnome under testifying, but that's about it. I don't have any UK clips here tonight, guys. We are pretty much going to be talking and watching a lot of clips about the American-Israeli-Iran war, and it literally is a war. There's no two ways given about it. So we will see how it goes. I've got a very, very powerful video we're going to start off with, which will definitely be, if you haven't seen it, it's one of those really educational ones, guys, to make us understand how this war can lead us to World War III, essentially, which is very, very bad for a number of reasons. Jao, good to see you there. Hope you are doing well. Mel, good to see you there as well. And anybody else lurking in the chats. So, just before we get going as well, I just want a quick reminder of a couple of things. There'll be another live stream tomorrow at 11 a.m. for the Good Morning Show, and there will also be myself and Graham Price tomorrow with Reform Watch. I might even start having, if we get some really bad clips about Restore UK, clips about them, to take the mick out of them. I think I might do it Reform and Restore to kind of take the mick out of them, because we should do. I just want to share before we get going as well, guys. I've seen so many silly comments on my video on Restore Britain. So many fake people. And they really are fake people claiming that I don't understand what's going on. Or that the best they can do is just throw insults at me. And I can absolutely guarantee you the majority of those people are either not from the UK or they have very small functioning brains. I wouldn't be surprised if they were all the same person. It's just bots after bots, really. But it's nice to see the video getting blown up because it's making me money. It's always good when a video blows up. It actually makes me money. So, but all those people with their silly comments are just getting blocked because... yeah, they really aren't contributing so much to the comment section of the video. The Rupert Lowe one there. The US is calling it a special military operation. Can they be more obvious? Did they call it a special military operation? No, I don't think they. I don't recall them calling it that, to be fair. Right, let's get started with the most important video here, guys. So, are we ready for a lesson in education? Not many of us are here for the lesson, but maybe we should save it until there's few more viewers, actually. Maybe we should save it until there's more viewers. Maybe we should do that one. Save that one until a bit later on. I don't really want to play it when there's few people here because I think, yeah, it would not be in the best interest here. Let's start with this clip here, which I think is this is really, really nasty here, just to kind of show just kind of how out of order that the US is here, guys. So, NATO ambassador Mike Waltz threatens the Iran NATO ambassador. Not my first firefight. He should be careful with his words sitting on American soil, and I'll just leave it at that. Making threats to an ambassador, okay? An ambassador. This is pretty disgusting, to say the least here. It's just unbelievable, some of these politicians.
I'm not going to dignify this with another response. As this representative sits here in this body, representing a regime that has killed tens of thousands of its own people and imprisoned many more simply for wanting freedom from your tyranny.
You know, and I'm just like, you know, you don't use that kind of language towards Russia there. You don't use that kind of language to other countries that have caused some of these things there. And it's just like, do you really deserve to be in that position? Not really.
You know, I'm going to be kind here, but it wouldn't surprise me if this guy ends up knocking on our door for asylum. This regime is falling apart. And they have abused, imprisoned, tortured their own people for far too long. They've threatened the world for far too long. And
yeah, it's not like it's not like America has ever done any of these things either, guys. Just for the record.
Killed, and as a veteran, well, I can tell you as a veteran how many American soldiers that the Iranians have killed, either at their hands or at their proxies. I'm a Green Beret, not my first firefight, and he should be careful with his words sitting on American soil, and I'll just leave it at that.
Well,
just making a simple threat to an ambassador. Okay, again, like this guy, he's an ambassador representing his country, and here he is making threats, to him. The fact just because he's on U.S. soil. I mean, it's just Texas Paul mentioned it Reganelite. Okay, well, I haven't from the clips I've gone through, I haven't heard it being called that as far as I'm aware. Anyway, so. But yeah, this threat here to an ambassador, again, like I don't approve of the regime and what they're doing there, but still, it's pretty disgusting to say the least here. This is a very interesting position here. So Tucker Carlson, of course, it's quite astonishing here that Tucker's really kind of been let off the leash ever since he's been able to kind of have his freedom to kind of saying things. And he really is not. He really is against this war, and this is quite very interesting to hear from his perspective, because this is a guy he's very much a Republican, very much been a Trump supporter, but he is not a fan of this war.
Where Donald Trump decided to attack Iran, what did you feel about that? Given that it ended so apparently quickly, do you think Trump was vindicated in his short, sharp strategy there by bombing Iran, or do you think that this will come back and haunt him down the line?
Well, of course I can't say. I mean, my life is a kind of unbroken chain of bad predictions and embarrassing analysis, and I've been wrong so many times, and I will be in the future without question. However, it's just a fact that events have consequences that we can't foresee, often for years or generations. And I think it's very unwise to use military force without a clear, achievable objective that serves the American national interest. In fact, it's not allowed to use it under any other circumstances. And in that case, I was concerned and remain concerned that this focus on Iran is not actually connected to our national security. How many Shiite terror attacks have there been in the United States in my lifetime? Let me do the math. 0. So don't tell me that the greatest threat we face is Iran. That's a lie. You're telling it on behalf of a foreign power. Maybe they feel the greatest threat they face is Iran. It's not the greatest threat we face. It's not an endorsement of Iran, okay? Doesn't make me a simp for the Shiites. It just makes me an American who's trying to think clearly about what our problems are. And our problems would include tens of millions of foreign nationals living illegally in my country. Nobody knows their identities. They would include a collapsing economy that makes it very hard for my children to have children and live the life that they grew up with and their friends and all American kids. It would include a drug crisis that's killed millions of Americans over the past 20 millions of Americans over the last 20 years. Iran is not even in the top 10 list. So you can scream at me all you want and call me names and call me a bigot or whatever, but there's no evidence to support that. And so if the energy of the U.S. government is focused on a threat that's not the primary threat to us, it is by definition ignoring threats that are. And that's a kind of negligence. And so I pointed that out. I was, roundly attacked. My family was attacked. Whatever. I don't care. It's true. And everyone kind of knows it's true. And being bullied by Ben Shapiro into pretending that it's not true, it's just not on the program for me at 56. I'm just not doing that anymore.
Is Iran the greatest single threat to the United States of America? No. Is China its single greatest threat? Maybe from an economic point of view, yes. Is Russia its biggest threat? Maybe. Is Iran really the single greatest threat? The thing is, there's no evidence that Iran has weapons of mass destruction. There's no evidence that they have missiles or missiles that could strike the country anyway. There is none of that. And let's just, there's a lot of factors. We'll get into the reason why. There's a lot of factors into why this has happened. And I do have one clip that may be that what happened in Venezuela with regards to the kidnapping of Maduro is also tied to why we have this war as well. yes, guys, apparently it could be linked as well. I love this clip from Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not a fan of her for obvious reasons, but I'm glad someone is actually not just calling, is just really not just calling it out, but the language from her as well. There's a lot of Democrats who have been subdued about this, it's good to see someone actually just like really unleashing hell on Donald Trump, even though not many people take her seriously. I don't take her seriously, and you guys shouldn't either. But what she says here really, you know, a lot of it is truth.
He said to the New York Post today that he doesn't care about the polling. He doesn't care about what the American people think, and he may put troops on the ground. He took this is going to be a few-day war, to now it's going to be maybe 4 weeks or more. I want to say, what is happening to the man that I supported, you supported, the man that denounced what happened in Iraq, the man that said no more foreign wars, no more regime change, promised it on the campaign. J.D. Vance promised it. Tulsi Gabbard promised it. All of them promised it. And we're a year in, and we're in another fucking war, and we've got American troops being killed. I think it's time for America to rip the Band-Aid off, and we need to have a serious conversation about what the fuck is happening to this country, and who in the hell are these decisions being made for, and who is making these decisions. 30 seconds.
Like, I mean, it's just so true. Like, who's making the decision? Well, I don't think it's Donald Trump making the ultimate decisions. It's obviously it's the people around him who are making those decisions there. Pete's Music, good to see you there. I hope you are doing well. It really is. And Stephen Banker, good to see you there as well. Yeah, that is a good question there as well. That's another good clip I'll come to in a bit there as well. So, another interesting clip from Tucker Carlson. Again, not a fan of him for obvious reasons, but again, a lot of this also does tie into why we are in this situation, possibly. But I'll let you guys be the judge of it.
How did this tiny country convince the world's great superpower with the greatest military in history to do its bidding in a way that was going to hurt it? The most obvious answer is because Bibi told the president of the United States, you can join me or not, but I'm going. And at that point, you really only have two choices. Get on board or tell Israel no. And if they did it, that would not protect us because there are hundreds of thousands of Americans in the Middle East, and they're also the world's most important energy infrastructure. Now, of course, there's a third theoretical option. You say no, and if you do it, we're gonna cut off aid. But that was not even on the table. The last president to do that was John F. Kennedy in 1962 when he got in a dispute with the founding prime minister of Israel, David Ben-Gurion, over Israel's nuclear program at Dimona. And President Kennedy said, no, can't keep testing, and I'm demanding inspections. And of course, he was not able to make good on those promises because he was killed. The truth is, and this is hard to say as a proud American, but the United States didn't make the decision here. Benjamin Netanyahu did.
Was it fully Benjamin Netanyahu, though? As we're saying, we're going to come more into that as well. But I do think, you know, the thing about John F. Kennedy and him saying no, and you know, and then the guy gets assassinated. You know, there's always been that conspiracy theory that Israel were behind it, but we honestly don't know. We honestly don't know. This video we're going to tie into this. This is the main video we're going to watch in a bit, guys. I'm going to share with you guys in a bit. Here are some other ones here. This is really powerful here from channel Channel 4 here, getting to speak to Iran here. You know, the Western media will always tell you what they want you to hear. But it's always important to hear the other side of the spectrum. And this is why I really do respect Channel 4, respect their reporters and the work that they do, because they don't BS you. They go out of their way to get the information, and they're literally talking to someone in Iran. And we should take heed of what is being said in this interview that he has.
I began by asking him how he thinks the Iranian military strategy is playing out.
It's working quite well. Iran is hammering the Israeli regime in retaliation for its atrocities and its unprovoked war. And it's hammering U.S. positions across the Persian Gulf region for its atrocities and the unprovoked war. And there's been no let-up in Iranian responses. And that is because Iranian missile and drone bases are all deep underground. and inaccessible to the United States and the Israeli regime. And that's why they take revenge on ordinary Iranians. They've been bombing Tehran and other cities, destroying homes, destroying hospitals, destroying schools, slaughtering children.
Could a new leader, do you think, negotiate with Trump and agree to his terms?
No. Iran is not interested in negotiating with Trump or the US regime. Iran is going to punish the United States, and we are in the process of doing it. This regime in Washington has tried to cross a bridge that's a bridge too far, and they're messing with the wrong country.
What percentage of Iran's missile stocks remain?
The vast majority.
Because after last year's war, it was estimated that Iran had used up around 40% of its missiles. Are you saying that was replenished in the last few months?
Those numbers were always fake. Those numbers are provided by the Israeli regime to the media in order to convince foolish Americans that war against Iran is simple. And if the United States escalates, that will mean that the most sensitive region in the world, the Persian Gulf, where a quarter of the world's energy comes from, everything could be destroyed. And if that happens, it doesn't even matter if the Strait of Hormuz is open or closed, because there will be no oil or gas, and there will be no tankers. For Iran, this is a fight for survival. For the United States, this is a war of choice.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. I do recommend checking it out on Channel 4's YouTube channel. That's going to be very interesting indeed. I do like this. I just wanted to share this off-put here of Chuck Schumer here. He says, this is what he says. He says, do you think Israel boxed the US into a war with Iran? He says, look, no one wants a nuclear war. No one wants a nuclear Israel, but we certainly don't want an endless war. Walks away, turns around. Schumer, what did I say? Reporter, nuclear Israel. Schumer comes back and corrects what he says there, guys. You were right the first time, Schumer. You were right the first time.
Do you think Israel, forced the U.S.'s hand here, boxed the U.S. in on this?
Look, no one wants a nuclear war. No one wants a nuclear Israel, but we certainly don't want an endless. No one wants a nuclear war. No one wants a nuclear Israel, but we certainly don't want an endless war, plain and simple.
Yep.
What did I say? Oh, no. Got it. Let me say that again.
No, you don't need to say it again. No, we got it. We don't want a nuclear Israel as well, guys. We got it.
No one wants an endless war, but we certainly don't want a nuclear Iran. That's for sure.
No, you had it right the first time. God. Oh, dear. Schumer, you just lost it, mate. Just lost it, mate. Absolutely nuts here. This is. I feel like this is a guy who, Pete Hegseth comes across as a guy who comes across, tries to be tough, talk tough, and that. But when it comes to the nitty gritty, he's actually just a little bitch. I just think he's one of those people. He thinks. I don't think he's as manly as he thinks he is, guys. I think because of his position of power, he thinks he's manly. Anyway, let's hear what he had to say here. I don't want a nuclear anyone. True, Mel. None of us want a nuclear anyone. That is true.
In a few days, in under a week, the two most powerful air forces in the world will have complete control of Iranian skies, uncontested airspace.
I'm going to make a prediction right now that will not happen.
I hope all the folks watching understand what uncontested airspace and complete control means. It means we will fly all day, all night, day and night, finding, fixing, and finishing the missiles and defense industrial base of the Iranian military, finding and fixing their leaders and their military leaders.
What the hell does that mean, fixing? Like, what does that mean, fixing? Like, honestly, what like this is just, it's just, what does that mean, fixing the Iranian regime? Like Like, what do you know about what goes on inside the Iranian regime? Like, honestly, like, fixing it. Like, to what?
Flying over Tehran, flying over Iran, flying over their capital, flying over the IRGC, Iranian leaders looking up and seeing only U.S. and Israeli air power every minute of every day until we decide it's over. And Iran will be able to do nothing about it. B-2s, B-52s, B-1s, Predator drones, fighters, controlling the skies, picking targets. Death and destruction from the sky all day long. We're playing for keeps. Our warfighters have maximum authorities granted personally by the president and yours.
It's just so full of... It just feels so full of shit. So, I don't have the clip here, but apparently Democrats was in a classified meeting with the Trump administration about what the actual plan is. And they basically came out more scared because they don't really have a realistic plan of how to get out of this. You know? Which is very frightening indeed. So, guys, it's been 4 days, of course, since the terrible tragedy of the school that was struck inside Iran. Over 100 children lost their lives. Many are still under the rubble as we speak. And, of course, there hasn't been any accountability to it. We don't know if it was Israel. We don't know if it was America. But it's been 4 days, as you can tell there. And their response from the United States about it sounds a lot like what Israel are saying when it comes to, you know, being held accountable here. So day 1, they said investigating. Day 2, it was investigating. Day 3, they said investigating. Day 4, still investigating, apparently.
Tie right there. You got a tie on.
Yeah. Thank you. Tom Bateman with the BBC. Can you give us an update on what the administration knows, what you know now about the reported strike on a girls' school in southern Iran on Saturday?
All I can say is that we're...
Bear in mind, it's Wednesday, and this happened on Saturday. So you've had Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. You've had 3 full days to have a look into this as best as you possibly can. Remember, because America and Israel are coordinating strikes, right? So surely they would have some information on this, right?
Investigating that. We, of course, never target civilian targets, but we're taking a look and investigating that. Red tie in front.
Just on the basis that with the information you would have, your reconnaissance abilities, ability to gather information, I mean, it's several days on now. So is there any clarity on whose munition this was?
We're investigating it. Thank you.
Like, kids, guys. Kids were killed. You know, this is Israel, like, dodging. This is like Israel, you know, with the whole, like, oh, we shot some Palestinians. Oh, yeah, we're investigating it. We'll get back to you, guys. We'll get back to you, you know. You guys remember I said this morning, I think it was yesterday as well, that religion is tied into this as well. Listen to Mike Johnson here.
They have been, and they say the quiet parts out loud. They wanted to wipe Israel off the face of the earth, and they'd like to take us out as well. We're the great Satan in their analogy and their misguided religion, and there was no way to appease them.
Misguided religion, yeah. This misguided religion. This is definitely one way to definitely appease, you know, Iran. Not to mention the fact that you're shooting them on. Calling their religion misguided, okay? You know, it's very disrespectful here. And this is one that really grinds, pisses me off here. You know, there's been a lot of really, you know, you hear a lot of comments and whatnot from some of these morons. This one is probably one of the most infuriating ones here.
This is what the fake news misses. We've taken control of Iran's airspace and waterways without boots on the ground. We control their fate. But when a few drones get through or tragic things happen, it's front page news.
Yeah, because, you know, Americans care about, you know, their people dying, as would anyone. You know, if British soldiers were killed in a conflict, you know, we would want to know about it and we would want to mourn them, you know, as would, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but Americans are very patriotic about, you know, about their soldiers, about their brethren, you know. Maybe that's just me.
I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad, but try for once to report the reality. The terms of this war will be set by us at every step.
Yeah, don't talk about the deaths of American soldiers, guys. That's literally what they're telling the American press. Don't talk about American lives because they're not important. I shared, I think it was, I shared a clip with you on Viewpoint about how Donald Trump was more interested in fucking clothing or cloth or something than about American soldiers. Another example of that there from Pete Hegseth. You know, that's far more important. That's far more important, guys. That is far more important. Another example of piss poor media coverage is from the BBC as well. Don't watch their coverage when it comes to the war on this either. Like the language that's being used. Owen Jones once again exposing the BBC's bias on this as well. Great stuff from Owen pointing this out here.
More and more countries are being drawn into this conflict as Israel and America seek to transform Iran.
This is just astonishing. Outrageous spin. He doesn't say this is an illegal war, but instead says that Israel and US seek to transform Iran. It makes it sound like something positive and dismisses far more likely claims, such as that Israel would prefer Iran to collapse into chaos and fragment and be permanently weakened. Or how about this in the Telegraph? Trump, Iran wants to talk. That's their headline.
They don't want to talk.
Reading that, you'd think Iran started a war and is now suing for peace. But Iran was talking in negotiations, which the US ended after a man facilitating said there was a breakthrough by bombing them.
Yeah, and it's true. It is absolutely true. Okay, so let's go to the biggest. So let's go to the video that's going to scare the fuck out of everyone. And yes, you heard what I said. Going to scare the fuck out of everyone. Let me just get that set there. Oh, I didn't know I had another set. Okay, I just want to make sure that I blow this screen up for you guys before I play it, because you're going to want to watch, because it's going to be, because I want to make sure you guys can see this as best as you possibly can. Okay, there we go. Okay, guys, this is 9 minutes and 54 minutes long. However, this is the one where class is in session. So this will get us to understand, like, a lot more understanding about why this war in Iran could turn into World War III very much here. So just sit back and do listen, and I'll cut in whenever I can here. But this is very, very concerning indeed.
Russia and China. It is possible that Russia and China will also enter this war on the side of the Iranians. This is World War III. And this map, even if you don't really know the war, even if you don't know the participants, even if you don't know the weaponry, this map will tell you exactly how this war will progress. All right, so some certain things to keep in mind about this map. This is what we call this area, okay, really small, it's 33 kilometers wide, okay? People can swim across it. It's really, really narrow, okay? This small area, guys, it's called the Strait of Hormuz, all right? And it's important because it's really the center of the world. This one area is the nexus, the pivot of the world. Let me explain why. First of all, from the GCC, you have 20% of all the world's oil flowing through this narrow strait. Where does it go, guys? It goes to Asia, India, Pakistan, South Korea, China, Japan. India depends on 60% of its oil from this area.
So already you've just got some numbers there. 20% of the global oil supply goes through that strait. India relies on 60% of that oil. You can already see, before we've even started to get into the firmer details, of just what is happening here.
China depends on 40%. Japan, 75%. Prime Minister Takaichi of Japan has said that, listen, if the Strait of Hormuz closes, we will run out of oil in about 8-9 months. The entire Japanese economy would collapse in 8-9 months. if the Strait of Hormuz were to close. And guess what? The Iranians have closed the Strait of Hormuz. Okay?
So yeah. So just bear that in mind. That's just the Japanese economy. That is just the Japanese economy. All right? And we're just talking about the Japanese economy. And he's going to obviously show other examples here as well. So yeah, I'm not lying when I'm saying that by the time you get to the end of this video, you're going to think World War III is going to happen. And I'm very much, it's very convincing.
So we can expect that the entire global economy will suffer greatly over the next few months.
Yeah.
All right, so that's point number one. Point number two is, okay, so the GCC sends oil across the Strait of Hormuz, and what do they get back in return? Food, guys. All right, so people don't appreciate the GCC, but it is really the linchpin of the American empire. Because what is the American empire? The American empire is the petrodollar. All right? The idea of the petrodollar is this.
Do you guys remember we talked about the petrodollar, about the Venezuelan kidnapping of Maduro, and we had that session about the petrodollar and about making sure that America always is in control when it comes to the petrodollar, that countries are using the petrodollar. Again, this is linked to this war.
The US dollar is worth nothing. It's only valuable when people want it. But the GCC says that if you want oil from us, you have to pay us in US dollars. Okay? Then that is the basis of the value of the US dollar. So, if the GCC collapses, the American economy and the American empire both collapse at the same time.
It's very possible that America could get fucked by the end of this year. That's a very scary thought. Because, yeah, they rely quite a bit from here. And when you think about all the countries there, you got Saudi Arabia, you got Qatar, you got Oman, the UAE, all along there, you know, that's where they get it all from, through that strait. That tiny little strait is all through there.
The problem, though, is that GCC is an artificial construct of empire. It does not exist naturally. Why? Because there's no food, there's no oil, no water. Okay, guys? No food, no water. So these cities are able to grow in the millions because of all these petrodollars flowing in. If you close off the Strait of Hormuz, there's no food coming in, right?
And as we know, that the only reason that Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, these countries were able to, they have the cities and the luxuries and all this kind of stuff. We know that it's because of the resources that they have, the oil and the gas fields that they have. It's because of that is why they are where they are today.
They're all going to starve. How much food does the GCC get from overseas? 80%.
That's not
80% of all the food it consumes comes from overseas, that it imports. It doesn't grow by itself, it imports. All right?
Well, that's because, you know, they live on a desert. You know, there's you can't grow crops in the desert. Like, it's just too warm. So that makes logical sense.
So the Strait of Hormuz is really key. And again, the Iranians will close it in order to strangle the global economy and therefore bankrupt the American empire. All right? Second thing you will notice is these mountains. These mountains is what we call Iran. All right, this is Iran. This is GCC. Okay, this is not a fair matchup, right? Because these are mountains. And what can you do in mountains? Well, you can hide rocket bases. You can hide drone bases. You can hide missiles. And that's the entire Iranian offensive strategy, all right? From here, they can hide missiles and drones from which to attack the GCC. And what are they attacking? They're attacking three things, right? They're attacking American military bases. American military bases. That's number one. Okay? Is it possible for the Americans to defend against these attacks? The answer is no. It's not. It's the silliest thing in the world. You have all these bases in the Middle East, but you cannot defend them against the Iranians. That's kind of strange. Okay, but that's number one. Number two is oil and energy. How hard is it to blow up an oil field with a drone? Not hard at all. Can you defend these oil fields? No, you cannot. All right? Number three, and this is most important, is water. Okay? You guys don't know this, but the GCC has little access to fresh water. So the only way that it can produce water is what we call desalination plants. Okay? These factories that take salt water and then through an electrical chemical process turn it into fresh water for the population to use. 60% of the water supply in the GCC comes from desalination plants, okay? 60%.
Sounds like another target for Iran to strike at these nations. I wonder what would happen if they lost these desalination plants, all these countries here. What do you think is going to happen?
Is it hard to blow up a desalination plant using a drone? The answer is, it's very easy. You understand? Okay? So you have this absurd situation where Iran is a mountain fortress, where it can hide its offensive capacity, and the GCC, it's just this desert, this flat desert, and it is exposed to attack, and there's nothing it can do about it. Okay? So at any point in this war, the Iranians can choose to just destroy the entire GCC, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it. Okay? But Iran also has a weakness, okay? And this is fundamental. So Iran also has a water problem, okay? So for the longest time, they suffered a drought issue. Okay, just climate change.
Not just climate change, and I've covered this, I think I've even covered this on Rumble, where there have been private companies who have taken advantage of the water situation with Iran. Iran is really having a serious water problem. Also, I think I've even covered it here on a live stream with you guys as well, not just on Rumble. But there have been lots of talk about Iran wanting to move its capital down here near the Strait of Hormuz, wanting to move from there because of the situation regarding water as well.
And so what the plan of the Israelis and Americans is destroy the water supply of the Iranians. Because the fortress, it is a mountain fortress, but it can also be a mountain prison as well, where people are trapped inside with no access to water. Okay, so what we're going to see right now, we're already seeing attacks on civilian infrastructure, hospitals. In the future, you'll see attacks on water supply, on dams, on reservoirs, on power plants. The idea is to make Iran so inhabitable that the people will have to rebel against the people, or there'll be a refugee crisis in Iran. Okay? So as you can see from this map, this war, it is the end of the world. Okay? Both sides have the potential to destroy each other. And it's really a question of how far do they want to go. All right? We can also say this is almost a game of chicken. Okay? We can blow each other up. How far do you want to go? And the problem is this. The problem is that the Iranians are Shia, which believes in martyrdom. And you've killed the religious leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei. So they're willing to go very, very far. The GCC countries are Muslim, but they're materialistic. They love money. And also, most of the population are expatriates, foreigners. 90% of Dubai are foreigners. Guess what's going to happen if they suffer? They're going to run away. Okay? So this is not a fair matchup. The big question that people have is, first of all, are the Americans going to use ground troops? Because the only way that you can defeat Iran is by using ground troops, okay? That's a big question we will look at over the next few weeks. Will America send its army, 500,000, 2 million soldiers to topple the government? Okay, that's question number one. Question number two, nuclear weapons.
I don't think they're going to use that.
If you're losing a war, would you choose to use nuclear weapons? Okay, that's another big question that we have, okay? Now, another big question that we have is who gets involved? Because this situation is so dire that Europe, okay, specifically Germany, France, and Britain are talking about entering this war. And guess what? If that happens, it is possible that Russia and China will also enter this war on the side of the Iranians. This is World War III, okay? Because of the importance of the Strait of Hormuz, because of the importance of the Middle East.
Pretty much that key point there. Now, I don't know, like, again, this guy theorized that Trump would win the presidency. He predicted that America would go to war with Iran. He got both those predictions right. And in his third prediction, he predicted that America would lose this war. Now this is just a concept of what could happen. Obviously, we don't know if it's going to happen. But I think it is very... I know it was a long video, but I really do think that it's a very much food for thought to kind of remind us of just kind of like how much it does rely on that. And you might think 20% is not a big deal, but you guys know just how serious the world order relies so much on oil. You know, oil is just like, it's just something that they just really, really rely so much on here. And I just want to share with you, some of you guys may have seen the clip from Max Robespierre put up the video already of a part of this anyway, but I'm going to share it here with you guys as well. Let me just find I need to find this is not very good, sorry. I need to cut this clip right down because you can't even see both people because of the way the clip is designed on this Twitter here. I could do there. Yeah, that should be all right there. So Breaking Point's Crystal Ball and Saga, they got to interview him, and this is one of the clips from it here that I really do think here. So Professor Zhang made the three predictions. Two have come to fruition. The third predicted America will lose to Iran here. So let's just listen to what he has to say with here.
You made three big predictions. One, that Trump would win. Two, that he would start a war with Iran. And three, that the U.S. would lose that war. It's quite a stunning prediction. You know, do you stand by it?
The reality is that right now, it's a war of attrition between the United States and Iran. And the Iranians have been preparing 20 years for this conflict. And now they have a pretty good strategy of how to weaken and ultimately destroy the American empire. So what the Iranians are doing is they're waging war against the entire global economy. And so they are striking the GCC countries. They're going after the critical energy infrastructure. They blocked off the Strait of Hormuz. And eventually, they will go after the water desalination plants, which is the lifeblood of these nations because they don't have fresh water supply. The Iranians are actually threatening the very existence of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar. And why this is important is that the Gulf states are really the linchpin of the American economy. So what they do is they sell petrodollars and then they recycle the petrodollars back into the American economy through the investments in the stock market. And right now, we know that the entire American economy is propped up by AI investments in data centers. And a lot of that comes from the Gulf states. So if the Gulf states are no longer able to sell oil and they're no longer able to finance AI, this AI bubble in the United States, then this AI bubble will burst, and with it will burst as well the entire American economy, which is really a financial Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, sir, an Amazon data center was literally hit in the UAE. Now, we also wanted to talk to you about munition. The United States is racing to accomplish Iran mission before munitions run out.
The United States military is not designed to fight a 21st century war. Remember, the military-industrial complex came to being after World War II, and it was designed to fight the Cold War. And the Cold War was really about muscle flexing, who was to first get the person on the moon. And so the entire American military strategy revolves around very sophisticated technology that costs a lot of money to build. And that's what the American air defense system is. And that's why we're seeing this asymmetry in this war, where you have these $1 million missiles trying to take out these $50,000 drones. And it's not sustainable in the long term. And so what we're seeing is really the puncturing of the aura of invincibility that sustained American hegemony for the past 20 years.
For is very interesting point there. I'm trying to remember which. It's possible. I'm just trying to remember which clip it was now that yes. So let me just see what you guys are saying with regards to what it is. I mean, I know some people aren't going to jump on board, but I do feel too much negativity, says Jasper. Well, I feel, sometimes we need to hear things that we don't want to hear. A lot of it does make sense. Simplistic, the situation damages India and benefits China. Russia has no capacity to intervene. Well, China relies heavily a lot on. China gets its oil from the Strait as well. China gets its oil from the Strait as well. Where else does China get its oil from? There is what I've been reading on there. Hello, Mandy, Jasper, and anybody else if I haven't said hello there. Just having a look, see what else you guys are saying. Desalination plants need to be everywhere, says Jasper. Yep. Roger Devine, good to see you there as well. Let's go a bit further down. That's enough politics for me doing my heading while I watch tractor videos. That's fine, Jasper. Appreciate you popping in nonetheless. Only problem now is he's giving Trump a strategy. Well, is it Trump? Well, the thing is, I don't think any of this is Trump's strategy. I don't think any of it is Trump's strategy at all. But could it all just be down to money, guys? Well, pretty much. I do think money plays a factor in all of this as well. Anyway, this was an interesting clip I found here. Follow the money. I don't know how real it is, but let's have a listen, guys. Let's have a listen. So I think this is I'm pretty sure this is the clip that ties Venezuela into what's happening as well.
Unfortunately, I am spiraling and I have put on my tinfoil hat and I am going to present a hypothesis. Okay. I do not think that this is about the Epstein files. Hear me out before you get angry. On January 3rd, 2026, when we invaded Venezuela and captured Maduro, we took temporary control of Venezuela's oil exports and commerce. Venezuela has the largest oil reserve in the world. At first, this did not make complete sense because we cannot necessarily use Venezuela's oils because of the crudeness of it. But technically, we do control their oil sales right now. The largest beneficiaries of Venezuelan oil is China, Russia, and Cuba. The other country that China currently gets a majority of their oil reserves from is Iran. Besides Iranian leadership under this current regime, we are currently targeting Iranian naval bases. Why? Because Iranian naval bases are currently attempting to defend the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is a key shipping lane to be able to get oil to China. China knew that this was going to happen because they have been stockpiling oil reserves since January when the U.S. invaded Venezuela. They currently have enough oil to last them for approximately 100 days. But what happens when that 100 days winds down? Their manufacturing completely stalls. But that's not where this stops. Look at the Q3, Q4 GDP report from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, which is released by this administration. On page 2 of both reports, you will see that the Q3, Q4 GDP is currently being propped up by increased defense spending. Now, who is currently the biggest beneficiary of U.S. production of defense systems? It is not Israel, it is Saudi Arabia. Which country is currently trying to backfill China's oil reserve depletion? Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is currently the biggest beneficiary of us invading Venezuela and capturing Maduro, and also us invading Iran. Our biggest customer of the export that is currently propping up our economy is simultaneously the only country that is currently supplying China with oil. Now, why is the U.S. currently engaging in hypocrisy by propping up Saudi Arabia? $1 billion in 2 Trump towers in Jeddah and Riyadh. $2 billion from Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund into Jared Kushner's private equity fund. $2 billion into Trump's stablecoin. A $5.5 billion Trump golf course developed by a Saudi Arabia developer. Follow the fucking money.
Don't know how realistic that is, but it sounds very convincing. Anyway, I think it's very interesting food for thought indeed. But there is that potential link there. The petrodollar is definitely playing into this in one way or another. The Strait of Hormuz is obviously very much needs to be functioning. And that's why we heard President Trump, I believe it was yesterday or day before on Truth Social, saying that he was going to offer anyone free, basically he was going to say that they would pay anyone to make sure that the oil continues to flow through the Strait of Hormuz, which is going to be very, very difficult to do considering what is going on here. Trump believes he could prop up the value of the petrodollar by having a controlled burn of a war with Iran, but he did not control Iran, countered on Iran's resolve. He believes it was weak and in turmoil, and that is not just that as well. Israel convinced Trump or people around Trump to believe that was the case as well. And they believed it based on what happened in Venezuela, because they were able to make a successful operation, and also because of how easy it was for them to bomb certain targets in Iran last year, so certain nuclear sites in Iran last year, right? So they had this thought process that perhaps they thought that they could do this. But the thing is, Iran was, in my view, was deliberate. I think there's a part of me that thinks that maybe Iran could have struck back. They could have struck, but they waited. They've been waiting. And they've known for years, for decades, there's always been this hatred of the US. He's offering insurance now after the Lloyds refused to cover tankers going past Iran. Yeah, Trump, that is. Yeah. At the expense of American taxpayers' dollars, by the way. That's not Trump money. That's American taxpayer dollars. He's offering, the US government is basically offering insurance to companies who travel through the Strait of Hormuz. Straight out of the pocket of US taxpayers. That's what he's offering there. The US government is offering that, which is how desperate that they are. That they are there as well. Just another example here. I'm not 100% convinced that I wasn't sure if this is an AI video or not, because I do feel like it might be. But again, another video that kind of emphasizing, like, you know, just how messed up this is, guys. So, political commentator Shira Boston listed the potential catastrophic consequences if a ceasefire is not agreed with Iran. Be serious, you're not ready to die for the Zionist cause here. Apologies for the music in this. I think there's music in this one.
Do you have any idea how much more damage Iran can absorb than you can absorb? Their country is 70 times larger than you. 70 times. Their army is at least 4 times larger than you. And their soldiers aren't on TikTok. They're not quitting. They're not refusing to serve. They're not getting taken off duty for mental problems. They're not committing suicide. They're not themselves. No, it doesn't even matter how much damage America could potentially do to Iran. You cannot sustain a fraction of what Iran can sustain, and that's just a fact. If this goes on for even just 6 months, you're looking at an economic toll on your economy of upwards of $165 billion. That's 35% of your GDP. Double that if it goes on for a year, and it can go on for a year. If it's a full-blown and Iran starts to get replenishments of their artillery from Russia, China, North Korea, whatever, and if they reactivate their proxies, oh yes, it can go on. And yes, the fact of the matter is that your people all have somewhere else to go when things get bad. Iranians don't. You understand?
I think he's more referring to Israel than America, just for reference.
Iranians don't even have to carry out a mass casualty attack in Israel. They don't have to focus on that. All they have to do is land one rocket in one building, and everyone in every apartment of that building is on a plane to New York. They're on a plane to Paris or to Moscow. They can literally depopulate your whole country just by targeting infrastructure. Because at the end of the day, you're all pampered Westerners, after all. You're not trying to live without Wi-Fi and cappuccinos. You know it and I know it. You're not ready to die for this cause. I mean, be serious. And then there's the fact that, what do you think happens? If they escalate, what do you think happens when American soldiers start dying for you? Listen, Americans don't even want to see American soldiers overseas supposedly dying for their own country in Iraq, in Afghanistan, or wherever else, according to the rationale that they give their soldiers and their soldiers' families. You notice that they didn't even send their own soldiers to go and fight in Ukraine against their arch enemy, Russia. I mean, firstly, what on earth makes you think that they're even going to be willing to fight and die for you when they don't even want to send their soldiers, like I said, to go fight and die supposedly for their own country, you know, in various military engagements around the world? What makes you think that you're not just going to get Ukrained out of existence by your best friend, Uncle Sam? They're willing to fight Russia down to the last Ukrainian. What makes you think that they're not going to be willing to fight Iran all the way down to the last Israeli? Wallahi, you're not reading the room at all.
Very interesting point there. Very, very interesting indeed. Is there any other clips from this I haven't covered? I think I've covered every single clip that I need to cover from this part here, but I did think it was quite interesting indeed. So factoring past history or just look at recent posts for year one step planning, says Counter Kev. I think, yeah, I think what we've looked at is a lot of possibilities of what could very much happen. Look, I'm not saying that World War III is definitely going to happen, but there's a very real possibility that this is going to happen. I mean, like, we already know that Europe is trying to get the gas pipes and supplies open to Russia again because they can't rely on the Strait of Hormuz, and Europe needs that. Europe needs that. And unfortunately, they are trying to talk Ukraine into letting it open, despite the fact that Ukraine are being destroyed by Russia. So Zelensky is obviously not. So the war in the Strait of Hormuz doesn't benefit Zelensky in Ukraine in any way, shape, or form either, because it also helps Russia, because as well, which is really, really bad. Because and this also benefits, you know, Hungary, Slovakia, the countries that are obviously very much more pro-Putin, or especially in particular their governments as well. That's not very good there. And is what happened with Venezuela the reason this happened as well? You know, I think about the petrodollar quite a lot. Yeah, the more I saw that video about the petrodollar, the original video we saw about Venezuela, the petrodollar there, the more I'm convinced that the petrodollar is part of all this as well. That it's not just the whole religion thing. That it's not just the Epstein files. I do think these things do play a factor, but I also think the petrodollar is a key thing here. You know, at Trump's age, like, does he care if the world's going to crash and burn really much around him? Does he care about a third term? Like, because if they officially go to war, they are already at war. But if they officially do it, like declare war and have troops on the ground, right? The other factor, of course, I'm sure we're all aware of, is that if troops do go on the ground in Iran, regardless of how bad or good it goes, there's not going to be elections, and Trump gets to stay in power there as well. So there's a lot of different factors to take in. So you've got all these different factors. You've got the Epstein files, which of course exposes the underweb of power and wealth, of these interconnections of people who have not just connections to Epstein and the whole atrocity of how children were treated by these vile, disgusting individuals. But obviously there's a whole interweb of link there. Then you've got obviously Donald Trump's history, of course, 34 felony counts and whatnot. You obviously got him getting older, though he's becoming a bit more dumb in the head, which means that people around him can kind of play games with him. We know that Pete Hegseth would like nothing more than to overthrow the Cuban government. We know how many Cubans in exile living in Florida feel about the Cuban government there. They want to see an overthrow there. Whether how realistic that is, I don't. How much they're going to do that, I don't know. But that's something Pete Hegseth has always wanted. He wants that. He wants Cuba overthrown. That government, they want it gone. They want the communist regime gone there. But they've managed to survive still throughout all of this there as well. There's so many factors into what is happening here. Now, some of you guys might have already seen the video for members, but for those members who haven't seen the video that's going to be coming out tomorrow, I did put out a video that was a article from The Guardian, basically saying that the UK is not refusing to rule out joining in the war. And you can kind of already see, like, you've got a clip there. We saw the clip there, the possibility that France and Germany could also get involved in this war. I don't know if they will or not. I'm thinking that right now, my thought process right now is I hope that Keir Starmer does not drag us any further into this war than need be, and that he just gets civilians, gets our British people out of there. And yes, I know people have argued that we should not be allowing the US to use our bases. But whether they'll do more will be another question there. Water supplies, refineries knocked out in the Gulf states and tackle, maybe says Counter Kev there. Portugal, Spain, France, and even Germany and Scandinavia are only source of parts of needed oil and gas from the region. Is that really enough, though? Is that really enough? Because there's been a lot of talk about, is that really enough yet for them? I don't know. Bulgaria and Hungary need it, not Europe. Let's be real, says Jao. Really? You don't think, that we don't need the Strait of Hormuz at all? That's 20% of the world's supply. I'm not sure about that. No worries, Roger Devine. Thanks for popping in. Appreciate it. Let's not play that clip. Let's not play that one. These are a couple of Caroline Levitt was taking some questions today as well. I just got one or two here as well to share with you guys here. So here's a full clip of Caroline Levitt getting mad when Caitlin Collins from CNN pressed on Hegseth complaining about press coverage of US troops' death. So if you guys were here at the start of the video, we heard Pete Hegseth saying, stop talking about the soldiers' deaths and talk about how great this war is going and what we're doing here,
You just mentioned that the president is going to attend the dignified transfer for these families. Given what Secretary Hegseth said this morning, is it the position of this administration that the press should not prominently cover the deaths of U.S. service members?
No, it's the position of this administration that the press in this room and the press across the country should accurately report on the success of Operation Epic Fury and the damage it is doing to the rogue Iranian regime that has threatened the lives of every single American in this room. If the Iranian regime had their choice, they would kill every single person in this room. And so we can all be very grateful that we have an administration and that we have men and women in our armed forces who are willing to sacrifice their own lives for the rest of us in this room. And
honestly, Joe, we honestly don't know for sure. We're speculating at the end of the day. We're speculating at the end of the day. Maybe Europe can handle itself without the Strait of Hormuz. Obviously, for the UK, I don't. For me, here living in the UK, for me, what infuriates me the most is that we do, while we are trying to push for renewable energy here in the UK, we still rely a lot on oil and gas and whatnot. It pisses me off that that a lot of what comes out of the North Sea doesn't even go into our economy, and it just goes onto the global markets because of these private companies. We should be taking them over. In this current climate, we should be taking them over to protect ourselves from what's going to happen, because Ed Davies said in Prime Minister's Questions that energy prices could rise by 500% as a result of this by 500%, guys. Just think about that. It's just insane. I know it may be an exaggerated number, it may seem, but you know, the fact that he's saying that is very concerning indeed.
And for every American across the country, and for every troop that is based in the Middle East. That's what these.
Hexeth was complaining that it was front page news about these 6 service members who were killed.
That's not what the secretary said, Caitlin, and that's not what the secretary meant, and you know it. You
We watched the clip earlier. We know what he said there.
know you are being disingenuous. There is not. We've never had a Secretary of Defense who cares more.
Drones get through, or tragic things happen. It's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad.
Yeah,
As you know, we cover
press
the deaths of U.S. service members under every president.
The press does only want to make the president look bad. That's a fact. Especially you. No, listen to me. Especially you and especially CNN. And the Secretary of Defense cares deeply about our war fighters and our men and women in uniform. He travels all across this country to meet with them, to connect with them, and your network has hardly ever probably reported on that. You also had the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Chairman Kane, who's a brave patriot, standing alongside the secretary at the Pentagon this morning, again expressing his condolences to these families. And I just told you that the President of the United States will be attending their dignified transfer. So please,
That's not making the president look bad. That's showcasing that.
We expect you to cover that as you should. We expect you to cover that as you should.
Which they are, by the way. And I'll just so you know as well, just for reference here, you know the whole, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the deal that Paramount buying Warner Brothers, right? If that deal goes through, yeah, that includes CNN. People like Caroline Levitt, not Caroline Levitt, people like Caitlin Collins in CNN, they're going to get kicked out because they don't want, because they're literally one of the last kind of medias in the US. I mean, they're not good in any. They're not as they're probably about the only news outlet that probably gives some accurate information to the American public. But even they are gonna fall in line like everyone else.
Caitlin, but you and your network know that you take every single thing this administration says and tries to use it to make the president look bad.
They just can't handle criticism. That's just generally it here. This is an insane one here. Based on feelings, guys. You don't base it on facts. You base it on feelings. Levitt says Trump's decision to strike Iran was based on his feelings based on fact that Iran does pose an immediate and direct threat to the US. Well, it's funny you should say that because, you know, I have a feeling based on facts that Russia would pose an immediate and direct threat to the United States. I can base my feelings based on facts that China, considering its military might and since it's built up, could also pose an immediate and direct threat to the United States as well. But you're not going to strike China and you're not going to strike Russia. You could say the same about North Korea as well. But you're not going to strike North Korea. Because guess what? They've all got nuclear weapons, so you're not going to strike them.
United States, the Secretary of State, and now I am out here today to explain to you exactly what led the president to make the decision to launch Operation Epic Fury. And President Trump does not make these decisions in a vacuum. This decision to launch this
not in a vacuum. How many of you are going to buy that in a vacuum?
Operation was based on a cumulative effect of various direct threats that Iran posed to the United States of America, and the president's feeling based on fact that Iran does pose an imminent and direct threat to the United States of America, based on the fact that.
By the way, again, I really have to remind this to people, and I'm sure you guys, most of you guys in the chat know this anyway, but Iran does not, as of right, as far as we are aware. If Iran wanted to strike, I don't think, well, as far as I'm aware, Iran doesn't have the missile capability to strike directly at the United States. And as we have seen from previous videos, they don't need to. They don't need to.
That they are the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, based on the fact that they were rapidly and aggressively building up their ballistic missile program to give themselves immunity within their country alongside their navy so that.
Yeah, it's called defending themselves. You know, like every other country in the world likes to build its own military and defensive weapons, you know, to protect itself. You know, Iran does it. Every country would do it. But, oh, how dare you, Iran, do it? I mean, this is just bullshit, you know? This is about protecting Israel as well.
Inside their country, they could continue to create nuclear weapons and nuclear bombs, which would, of course, pose a risk to Americans in the region and even Americans one day here at home.
Yeah, that's right, Kev. You know, you got a feeling in your left backside, but you don't tell my far right partner. Exactly. You know, it's insane. These people are insane. These people are absolutely insane. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. And it's going to get more insane, guys. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. Oh. So, Kristi Noem had her testimony. Yes, had her DHS testimony here. How do you think it went for her, guys? Do you want to have a guess? I'm going to say it probably didn't go too well for her. So let's play a couple of clips from that here. Oh, by the way, I do have at least one funny video as well before we end as well later on as well, just for reference there. Before I go to those videos, I just want to say really appreciate everyone coming out so far. It's nice to see at the moment we've got about between 10 to 15 people in the chat. If you haven't already hit the like button, please do. Of course, if you want to financially support me, there's a super chat goal. If you want to contribute towards that as well, you can do as well. But obviously, if you can't, one of the best ways you can support me non-financial way is hitting that like button, sharing, and subscribing as well. A reminder again for those who are here, I'll be live again both tomorrow at 11 a.m. for the Good Morning Show and at 8 p.m. tomorrow night. Myself and Graham Price of Power of the People, we're going to be doing another Reform Watch. Going to be looking at various different stories on Reform Russia. And, of course, we'll take the piss out of them because they absolutely deserve it. So do join us for that show tomorrow. Cross fingers, we don't have any internet issues as well. So here's one of many clips of Noem here. Of course, Jamie Raskin. We've heard Jamie Raskin. Obviously, for those who don't know, this was the same guy that ripped apart silly old Nigel Farage as well. This is actually makes a change that in this one here, she actually says the right things here, which is quite astonishing here.
Questions of law, not trick questions. Is it lawful for federal agents to shoot and kill a person for engaging in peaceful protest and nothing else? That's a yes or no question.
Each instances in peaceful protest, no, it's not.
Okay,
but
good.
I would say
Is it lawful for federal agents to shoot and kill a person for filming them on a public street? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. Is it lawful for federal agents to shoot and kill a person just because that person is lawfully carrying a holstered firearm under the Second Amendment in state law?
No.
And finally, yes or no, is it lawful for federal agents to shoot an innocent person or even a criminal suspect just for driving away from them, according to the Supreme Court?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you got the law right, and I hope you would rethink what you said about two good, honest, faithful American citizens and what that means to their families when you say that as Secretary of Homeland Security. And your ICE guy has already retracted that, and you should retract it too.
Yeah. And yeah, it really doesn't help him.
Based on what you know today, Madam Secretary, were Renee Good and Alex Preddy domestic terrorists?
I think we know the answer. She knows the answer. But is she going to give us the right answer?
Congressman, what happened in Minnesota in those two incidents was an absolute tragedy.
Were they domestic terrorists, as you said to the country?
My condolences to their families, because I know that their lives will never be the same after that happened.
Is that an apology for what you said?
We, in those incidents, offer as much information as we can from officers and agents on the ground in a chaotic scene that gets...
I'll repeat my question, reclaiming my time. Based on what you know today, Madam Secretary, based on what you know today, were Renee Good and Alex Preddy domestic terrorists?
As you know, There's ongoing investigations that are being led by the FBI.
But you didn't wait for the investigation, did you? You didn't wait for the evidence. You proclaimed that they were domestic terrorists at the time. Why did you do that?
And you didn't wait to attack our law enforcement.
Why did you do that?
Are going into a dangerous situation.
Why did you call them domestic terrorists?
Is our ICE officers and our HSI officers that day risked their lives to protect that scene, so evidence could be reclaimed, so it could be used in the investigation. Because those violent rioters that were
So you're proud of the fact that you called them domestic terrorists? Is that what you're telling America?
HSI officers put their lives on the line to protect that scene, so evidence so we could have.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But you told a lie about them. You said that they were domestic terrorists. Do you regret that?
I offer my condolences to those family. And again,
based on what you know today, were Renee Good and Alex Preddy domestic terrorists?
There's ongoing investigations, and so I.
So you still don't know? You think that's an open question?
I would think you would want there to still be investigations going into these situations.
Well, you stated the conclusion 2 hours after they were killed that they were domestic terrorists. I wanted to give you an opportunity to correct the record, not just for their family, but for everybody in America who believes in the truth and fairness and honesty.
In every situation, as facts come out, we relay.
You know,
she really is a nasty bitch, isn't she? You know, if like I'll come to that super chat in a moment, Pete. But I just want us to say this, like. I cannot imagine the feeling of the friends and family of Renee Good and Alex Pretty right now, who watching this and listening to this, and how they are feeling about this, because it's so there's so many emotions going through it. Hate, anger, sadness, all the negative feelings that you could possibly feel in the world, and all because she knows she's wrong. She knows she's wrong. But she, like all the diabolical people in this Trump administration, they can't apologize. They can't accept they're wrong. They can't live in the real world like the rest of us, where if you mess up in life, if you make mistakes, you have to own up to it. You have to apologize. Be a real man and a real woman about things that you do. Because in life, people fuck up, people make mistakes. That's just a fundamental fact of life. But because of the upbringing that the likes of this woman and so many others, they don't understand. They just don't understand. It's so fucking infuriating. It boils my blood that people like this are responsible for these innocent lives. Innocent people died. And they're not just standing up and saying, just do the right fucking thing and just say, no, they're not domestic terrorists. Just do the right fucking thing. Why is it so hard to say that? Why is it so hard to just admit that you get things wrong? We all make mistakes in life. So all of us do. But for whatever reason, in your fucking high horse, Christy, you can't just call it, just say, we were wrong. I should not have made that statement. I apologize. You know, you would get far more credibility if you did that. But we know you're not going to do that. We know you're not going to give any kind of ounce of satisfaction or care whatsoever to the friends and family of Alex Pretty and Renee Good whatsoever, because you just want to sit on your fucking high horse thinking, oh, I'm Mr. Miss fucking Perfect. Thank you for the super chat, Pete. I really appreciate that. Thank you for that. Why are these people unable to assume their mistakes? Exactly. Christy looks like a little bit crusty. Kev.
Your acting ICE director, Todd Lyons, came before Congress. He said he had no knowledge whatsoever that Alex Preddy and Renee Good were domestic terrorists. None. This is your guy. He said that. He admitted that that was wrong. Why won't you admit it?
I'll tell you, the investigation's still ongoing, and
So do you regret speaking before the investigation?
I would say that in those situations,
you regret that?
Chaotic scene on the ground, we relay information to the American people that they're asking for. And as things change, situations change.
People were asking you whether they were domestic terrorists? And you decided that they were before the investigation?
As
you are so fucking stupid, girl.
we learn more,
You don't want to say anything to their families?
I did. I said condolences.
For what? How about an apology for what you said about their loved ones?
My heart is with them, and we will continue.
Your heart is with them. What fucking heart? You don't have a heart.
To stand with them as they get a complete investigation into these situations.
All right. Well.
I hope she does face jail time. I really hope so, chat. I really, really hope so. Or not go to that one. This is another lie. I'm pretty confident of it. It's a short one, but even I am pretty convinced that this is another lie.
Do you have any people that you've hired who were January 6 offenders?
Not that I know of.
Can you go in your records and tell me if anybody who you hired was a January 6 offender?
I'll get back to you on that.
No, you won't. No, you won't. You'll forget about that. You know, you'll forget about that. You guys remember this story, don't you?
Picture of your agents detaining Liam in Minnesota. He's wearing a blue bunny hat. Let me ask you, did Liam commit a crime?
Liam was not detained. His father was, and his father abandoned him. And when they went to try to return Liam to his mother, she wouldn't come out of the house and get him either. So therefore, Liam's father chose to take Liam with him.
I believe you're not telling the truth. School officials at the scene say there were people in the house saying they could take care of Liam, and a federal judge rejected the arguments that your agency made. The federal judge stated, in fact, that this incident originated in, quote, the ill-conceived and incompetently implemented government pursuit of daily deportation quotas, apparently even if it requires traumatizing children, and then he forced your agency to release Liam, fly him back all the way from the detention center in Texas back to Minnesota, and release his father as well. Now,
this one, yeah, it's just, yeah, that poor child, children here, it's just terrible.
another picture. It's of Amalia, who is a toddler that ICE also detained. Let me ask you, did Amalia commit a crime?
No, she did not. She is with her family.
Right. And the reason she's with her family is because she almost died in ICE detention until folks brought a lawsuit forcing the release of Amalia. Now, you may wonder, well, why is ICE going after children? And it's because study after study shows that immigrants, both documented and undocumented, commit less crimes than native-born Americans. So I'm going to put up this slide from NPR. It actually describes also a study that in Texas, immigrants committed less than 37% of crimes compared to native-born Americans. And this has now resulted in your agents having to go after people, such as children, who should not be detained. So now
I was not aware of the story about this child nearly dying, being detained by ICE until I did my work, did the research for this show. I don't know how, like, I don't want to say this, but I feel like I need to say this. It's one thing with adults, the way that they are treating them. It was already shocking, the way that the other child, we know the story about the other child being held by ICE and being used as bait to get the father. But a child being in ICE detention and nearly dying, it makes me wonder how many children are being detained by ICE. How many of them are in the same situation? How many of them may or may not have died in their custody? And we talk about the horrors of what happens in. I've talked countless times here about the horrors of what's happening in Gaza, how children have been shot and have lost their lives. I don't know if children are held in Israeli prisons there, but considering the stories that I have covered, and I know some of you guys, I've shared those stories with you guys on here, and they're very, very disheartening indeed. It does worry me. It scares me. It actually frightens me that there could potentially be children right now in these detention centers dying, completely fragmented, their minds, their lives completely and totally upended, all to try and get their hands on parents or related. It's children. It's just really tough to take, guys. They deported a young girl who had cancer and she was only 6. I can't remember if I covered that story or not. Was that, Tori, so good to see you there. Was that the one about the, correct me if I'm wrong, was that the one about the, is that the one that went back, that got sent back to Mexico? Or was that the girl that got sent back to Mexico? I believe that's the same story. I don't know if it was the same one or not. I know there was a story about a girl who was that her cancer treatment could have gotten finished in America, but she got sent back to Mexico. I don't know if that's the same story or not. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Migrant children here go to orphanages, not detained centres, unless there are conditions for them to wait to processing with their parents in bloody individual trials like houses. Yeah, of course. Because your government, Jow, are not monsters. Like these fucking lot. They're not monsters. Another example of again, you have to, remember that ICE is still out there. Although it's a lot calmer, they're still out there, guys. It's worth reminding us of this.
When I was growing up, ICE agents would stop me out in the street. And they would ask me, are you a U.S. citizen? And my answer would be yes. And that was enough. Today, that's not the case. So what would you say, what do you suggest I tell my citizens back home? Have a passport with you all the time?
No, I would tell your citizens to be grateful they live in this country where President Trump is upholding
We
the
are,
law.
but ma'am,
Those that
if
are
you're
here
stopped as a
illegally-
U.S. citizen out in the street,
Those that are here
and you
illegally
tell people the U.S. citizen and you're still held,
should return back to their
that is not the country
before
we're
they're
supposed to
that we
live
will
in.
voluntarily help them self-deport if they would like to.
These are American citizens, ma'am. Do I tell my children to carry a U.S. passport?
No, I would not say they would have to.
But
I
they're
would say
stopped,
if
and
they are legal
sometimes
citizens,
they
don't
take
have
those
anything to worry
passports,
about.
your agents throw them out, and they grab them anyway. You're terrorizing American citizens.
It's quite crazy. It's just crazy. What evil did a child ever did except being born in the wrong color or religion, says Jow. Exactly. I think it was Venezuela, but honestly, I can't remember the exact country, says Tori. It wouldn't surprise me if they were two separate stories, considering how vile this vile they are. This is another concerning story here as well about having data on people as well.
Let's turn to another one. Okay, databases. One of your ICE officers in Maine recently told an observer that they're creating a database. Are you creating a database, ma'am?
No,
of
we're not
Americans?
creating a database.
Let's watch a video here.
To record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little database.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So
We're videotaping you? Are you crazy?
Tom Homan, who works for you, on Fox News recently said he wanted to create a database of people arrested during protests at ICE operations. What are you going to do with that database?
I don't know why he said that. We're not creating a database.
But he did say it. He works for you.
No,
He's
he
not
doesn't
an
work for
agent,
me.
he's an
He works for the-
employee.
He works for the president. He doesn't work for
He
me.
also works for you, ma'am.
No, he doesn't.
What do you want to do with that database?
We're not
This is a
creating
database of American citizens. Ma'am, I'm out of time, but what I'd like to do is send you a list of these questions that I've asked of you and have the opportunity to answer them.
Absolutely.
To be clear and to be on the record. Thank you.
You bet.
Madam Secretary, thank you.
She ain't answering those questions. This is fucking bullshit. Like having data on them, on people who are trying to stop them, what they're doing. The worst kind of evil, says Jow. I see the ICE raids every day. The mainstream don't cover it much. Yeah, because they don't. They want them to talk about other stories. They don't want to talk about stories that affect them. Same here in the bloody UK. They don't want to talk about the real problems that are happening in our society. The real problems in our society. They don't want to talk about it. Just don't want to talk about it. Is there any other one of these stories that are worth sharing with you guys? No. Do I have that one? It's an old, I think it's an old one. Yeah, this is last year. Let's watch. Shall we watch Michael Gove get his ass handed to him by get his ass handed to him? I think we should watch that one before we go to the funny video, because I'd like nothing more than seeing that piece of shit who thinks that we shouldn't be listening to experts here. It's a clip from last year from Sateo. That's it, Mehdi Hassan. That's it, his name. And Michael Gove. How do you think it went for Mr. Gove? How do you think it went for him? Not well.
Very briefly,
Come on, Mehdi.
you wrote an op-ed last year saying the Israeli military should be given a Nobel Peace Prize. A military that killed 6 kids lining up for water yesterday, killed 9 kids lining up for nutritional supplements last Thursday. A military that's being investigated at the ICJ for genocide and at the ICC for war crimes. So it's a bit rich for you to lecture anyone else on human rights or war crimes when you're supporting a genocide in Gaza.
I want to take some more questions.
I merely wish to say that, for the avoidance of doubt, and I don't think there is any, Israel is not carrying out a genocide.
Most genocide scholars disagree with you. Most genocide scholars disagree with you, Michael. The people who study genocide disagree with you.
That is a very big statement, and I want to discuss it.
Let me state it again, for the avoidance of any doubt.
Okay, we've heard you say it. It's a really big point.
You condemn the killing of 6 kids yesterday lining up for water by the Israeli military.
I condemn the loss of all innocent
all lives matter. He can't do it. He can't condemn the Israeli military.
I want to take a couple more questions, Michael.
I think
just
that
wait.
it is the right of the
wait.
Israeli Defense Force to defend
to kill 6
the
kids.
Only democracy.
To kill 6 kids lining up for water.
Michael was very clear. He doesn't think what's happening in Gaza is a genocide. You said, I think genocide experts disagree with you. What would be your main line of, how would you counter his statement?
I would say, have you been asleep since October 2023 as we've watched on social media the extermination of a people, the ethnic cleansing of a people, the killing of a people? If you have to only listen to Israeli politicians say the most outrageous things about burning down Gaza, about Amalek, about all of the people being responsible. Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister of Israel, said recently, we are conquering, cleansing, and remaining in Gaza. It will be totally destroyed. We are disassembling Gaza. We'll leave it in ruins without any global precedent. That's the kind of stuff that Michael's come to defend tonight. And look, some of the leading Israeli Holocaust scholars, Michael, Omar Bartov of Brown, Amos Goldberg at the Hebrew University, Raz Siegel, Dr. Shmuel Liederman here in the UK, Israeli Holocaust scholars have come out and said, we didn't think this at the beginning, but we do now think it meets the definition of genocide, what is going on there. And even if you don't want to call it a genocide, Ehud Olmert, on the front page of today's Guardian, former right-wing Prime Minister of Israel, says the plan to concentrate everyone in one place is a concentration camp, his words, not mine, and it would be ethnic cleansing, his words, not mine. So I think at this point, I think it's insane to still be saying Israel has a right to defend itself when they are killing and ethnic cleansing.
Very nice, Mehdi. Very nice. Thought that was a nice one, worth sharing anyway. Just seeing Michael Gove get rinsed there as well, getting rinsed. I've got actually two videos really, 2 funny videos actually, guys. Let me share this one with you guys first here, before we see ourselves out. Before we see ourselves out, well, I'm glad I got at least one super chat tonight, because for those who don't know, on my live streams, I don't monetize my live streams, so I don't make any money from them. So any super chats goes towards the work. So thank you, Pete, for that super chat earlier today. I do appreciate it. To be fair to Michael, he did have a good line before. Hey, says Kev. It's getting out of hand, Joe. Yeah, it's a genocide, living in colour on TV. Gove. Yeah, I know, but Gove is an Israeli stooge. He's not gonna call it out. He's gonna use whatever book in the. Oh, anyways, let's look at 2 funny videos to remind ourselves here. I like this clip from Joe T. I think you guys might have seen this before here. You know, Trump telling Trump, you know, what's going on here.
You're right now not in a very good position.
You're
It's going to be a
gambling
very
with the
hard thing
lives
to
of
do
millions of
business
people.
like this.
You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War
It's good for
III.
the American people to see what's going on.
You're gambling with World War III. What are you doing? You're gambling with World War III. Stop it. Stop it. You're gambling with World War III. Absolutely terrible. You're gambling with World War III. Anyway, how's Top G taking it, guys? You know, Top G. You know who Top G is, right? Andrew Tate, right? You know, he's in Dubai, guys. You know, we're going to hear straight from Andrew Tate right now, guys, to see how things are going on in Dubai, guys. Let's have a listen.
A lot of people have asked me, Andrew, what's it like to live in a war in Dubai? I want to be absolutely and utterly clear, there is no war. Dubai is by far the safest place on the planet.
Oh, Andrew, look at us on TikTok. We're running to a bomb shelter.
You're gay, you're broken, you're poor, you're a fucking fat and a loser. There's no fucking war. You think the Top G's got time for some fake fucking drone and a war that's gonna be over in less than 48 hours? Absolutely and utterly not. That's asinine. You're a fucking loser and a pussy. You can't even spell Iran without saying Iran. If there's a war in Dubai, how come the Top G is able to walk around the Burj Khalifa with $400 million fucking dollars in my back pocket, tax-free, without worrying that I'm gonna get robbed or stabbed? The whole thing's a scam. It's a psyop. Why am I able to travel around Dubai in a Bugatti with no speed limit? Why am I able to sunbathe on my yacht? Why am I able to travel around on a jet in the skies that I was told were full of drones? There's no fucking war. There's no fucking drones. This war is completely fake. There's gonna be absolutely and utterly nothing to worry about because it's all gonna be over within less than 48 fucking hours. You think the Top G's, I'm trying to get fucking rich. Give me the drones. I'll catch it. Catch it in my fucking teeth. There's no war. I just did 3,000 fucking push-ups. What did you do? Stayed poor.
Oh, Andrew, I know that there's a war because I read it in a book.
Because you're reading dumb fucking books. You're poor, you're broke, and you're still gay. And in the time that it takes you to say that, I fucked 6 whores, I traveled around Dubai in 4 Bugattis simultaneously, and I made $200 million fucking dollars. And what are you doing? You're gay. There's no fucking war.
Oh, I've heard Andrew Tate in the past, and this sounds a lot like him. I love the piss take of Andrew Tate. Hey, I've not heard someone take the piss out of Andrew Tate before. This is the first time I've seen someone actually try to impersonate and take the piss out of him. We've seen Tony Laminus before. He does some great copies there. And Andrew Tate always smokes cigars as well, like it's just for show off there. Oh dear. Oh, Steve. Oh wow. Steve, thank you so much. Sorry for popping in. Sorry for popping in at the last minute. No, thank you. Thank you so much. Honestly, that's very kind of you. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. I hope you are doing well, Steve. I hope you have a wonderful Thursday. It's Thursday morning for you. I hope you have a wonderful day, whatever your plans are, my friend. And thank you so much for the 20 New Zealand dollars. I really appreciate it. It's Top G cracking off for Grindr, says Count Kip. Oh, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Guys, gotta have a laugh, guys. We need to have a laugh while the world burns around us. Anyways, well, I guess we'll see how things go, won't we, guys? I guess we'll see how things go. So, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who came along tonight. Thank you for everyone for your comments. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate everybody coming out. I hope you guys found today's live stream informative, helpful in any way, shape, or form. I hope I provided some useful and helpful information to you about what's happening in the Iran war, as well as just how evil and nasty that the Trump administration is as well. I generally hope I have helped you guys tonight. I really do. Of course, obviously, if you guys on your way out, of course, hitting the like, share, and subscribe button on your way out for me would be greatly appreciated. Before I hit the outro button, just a reminder again, I'll be live tomorrow at 11 o'clock for another Good Morning Show. If you can join me for that, great. If you can't, I'll be live tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Myself and Graham Price, power to the people, we'll be looking at some news stories around Reform Russia. Sorry, Reform UK. Got quite a few stories on them. I might even dig up 1 or 2 stories before we go live as well. Maybe on that Restore Britain as well, just to kind of take the piss out of them, because nothing like the taking the piss out of them. And maybe we should have a look at some of the other far right parties as well. Maybe we'll do that maybe down the road as well. But thank you guys again, and enjoy the rest of your evening or morning wherever you are. And do check out Rumble and Patreon for exclusive content. Oh, I should point out for Patreon viewers as well, I've got some good news. So I have today I finally caught up with some paid content. So Patreon members who are paid members, there'll be some content be dropping for you guys for the next couple of days. I finally got round to be able to doing that, guys. So yeah, there'll be content dropping for you guys for paid members on the platform. So I apologize for being a bit behind on that, but I've managed to get onto that today for members there as well. So enjoy the rest of your evening, guys, and thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.